Farming's a family business. The guys from XtremeAg, family farmers. You know what? They farmed with their dads, and now they got their kids farming with them. So I'm going to ask them the question, how are you different as a farm dad from your dad? That's what we're talking about in this episode of The Granary.
On a farm, the work's never really done. We're calling the day anyway, because my friends from XtremeAg are coming over. You ready for a conversation with some real farmers about real issues? And the best part, you're invited. So pour yourself a drink. Grab a snack. Most importantly, pull up a chair. Welcome to The Granary. Hey, guys.
All right, I've been to everybody's farm. First farm I went to, Chad Harrison. I met Mike, your dad. He was in a recent episode of the XtremeAg show. Likeable guy, farm guy. You grew up farming with him. He still keeps a hand in the operation. Your father's deceased. He was a farmer, went through a lot of scrapes. You talk often about him. Your dad's 85 or 6 years old and still came out and ran a combine last month when I'm at your farm in Maryland. Pretty crusty old son of a bitch, to be honest with you. You farm with your kids. You farm with your kid. You farm with your kid. How are you different as a farm dad than your dad?
Honestly, I would say that I'm a terrible teacher. I don't have patience. Dad had patience when he was younger. Now, don't get me wrong, he's way better being patient with his grandchildren than he ever was with me. I mean, we've talked about that before. But as far as I don't have patience, and I'm not a very good teacher, and that's the one thing that I really would fault myself about. And he was very good and very patient, where he would actually be like, look, this is why we do this. This is how we do it. I'm better at going out here and teaching somebody else than I am my own kids. And that's terrible. That's terrible. It's a terrible quality, but I don't know how to fix it.
I think that's every father. I think that's every father. I mean, Matt Wise, that Lane will call me and you.
You're right.
No, I'm serious. I'm not being negative to Matt. I'm just saying, it's easier for me to tell Alexander what he's doing than it is to tell Jackson.
Yeah.
It'd be easier for you. You talk to Jackson about things more than, And
what happened when Lane sprayed that field with wrong chemical?
He called me. He called Chad.
Oh, yeah.
He was in tears.
And he was like, should I tell him now? I said, no. It was like Friday. I said, no, don't tell him. Tell him Monday. There's no need in running on the weekend. That was my advice to him, and you're like...
But, you got to realize who Lane's talking to, too. This is a guy, when we was in 100%. South Dakota, and we were out there talking, we're getting ready to go on stage. I'm getting ready to go up there with Matt. Matt gets a phone call that he's not going to get one bag of beans so he can plant these beans that he needed to plant. It was his third crop, second crop beans. What was it when you were doing that?
My second crop beans.
That second crop of beans. He was going wheat, beans, then beans behind beans. He's missing one bag of corn, one bulk bag now. He's getting ready to lose his mind. It ruined his whole day. I know why Lane didn't want to call his dad. I know why he'd call me or call you. I understand that.
Why does that make you, what is it? We're talking about who, it's natural. It's not like he's a 30-year-old man. It's not like, oh, dad's going to spank me. But he feared coming to you first because of the screw up he made. Is it like you bad? No.
Wait a minute. Before you answer, let's clear the waters. It wasn't a fear. It was how do I handle this?
Guidance. You look at guidance.
Well, it's just like it was a catch-22. He's going to tell him, and he's going to know before he tells him. When he sprayed it, he's going to be dead tomorrow. Well, but it's like
Matt was going to know.
Would you do it this way or would you do it this way? Either way, it's going to get done.
I think our kids' problems are, and Lane's is especially, he ain't scared of it. He ain't scared of it.
He ain't scared of it.
Approval.
Yep.
I don't even know if it's
disappointment and approval.
Disappointment.
He used to be scared. And, this is something that really transitioning that I've had to, when we talk about wanting to keep control.
Yeah.
Is 3 or 4 years ago, whatever I said, yes, sir. Today, I'll say, we need to do this. Well, I don't know if I want to do it that way. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do it that way. It's like, well, I don't, and so we butt heads a lot more today.
And that's the part you're working on now. But all right, well, tell me how you want to do it.
The coolest thing in the world was when he come to me, he was in tears. I'm down in a drainage ditch. It's 110 degrees and I'm mad at myself anyway, shoveling a drain out. And he comes up there in tears. The cool thing about that whole thing was he went to them first. And I thought that shows the relationship we have as a family, a non-blood family.
Yeah. With XtremeAg, you mean, yeah.
He can call Chad or he can call Tim and say, hey, I'm fixing to have to face Dad with this. You know what's even better than that? If I'm not here tomorrow, they're going to get a lot more phone calls than that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you kind of went the direction of, I'm worse as a farm dad than my dad because I'm not patient enough to teach. There's things you're probably better at than your dad also. And it's not like you're just patting yourself on the back to say that. There's stuff that Mike Henderson is better than you, but there's things you're better than him. And I mean, you don't do, this is not an analysis we typically do, but it's kind of a self-improvement exercise to do.
That's a terrible idea. Horrible idea.
I'd say that I'm getting better at communicating with my whole family.
Maybe they're getting better at listening.
No. I'm definitely getting better.
You told me they were getting better at listening. You were the same. They're just getting better
I
at
did
listening.
not say that, just to clarify. I did not say that one
Disclaimer.
time. Disclaimer. I'm just telling you, I'm getting better at communicating, where before I'd get angry, go sit in the corner and freak out and be like, I told you, blah, blah, blah. So one, you got to get better at communicating. Two, you got to get better at handing over some responsibilities before you even get better at anything that you're going to be better at what your father already did. Because obviously your father did a good job, because none of us would be here in the positions that we're in if it wasn't for him and what his father did. And I think with every generation, as long as we keep leading by example, right, where, Dad's doing better than what his father did, and I'm trying to do better than what my father did. And as long as you keep leading by example and you keep teaching the next generation, whether it be a woman or whether, a girl or a boy or whoever it is, and let them figure it out, I think that we're going to all get better in time. It just takes a lot of time. And I just really struggle with the control thing, and I'm trying to get better at that.
How are you different than Mike?
I ain't got near the patience he's got. But sometimes I think that,
Yeah, but how patient was he 30 years ago?
that's where I was going. I think that, let's look at where our farms was, where we were financially, and where you were mentally 15 years ago. That puts our kids when they was 15, 16, 17. Jackson's 26 today. Happy birthday, Jackson. But
So go back 10 or so years ago.
so let's go back.
Teenage boy.
He's a teenage boy, but farm-wise, financial-wise, you're still trying to get over that hump, as a young farmer. Or there was some, look at where the economy was then, or look at the date, or look at the land you took on, or look at the camp, I'm just saying, you're so uptight. It's like raising kids, okay? You start raising kids, and you give an analogy of you got this line, and we're going to try to keep that kid on that line the whole time. Well, it ain't about keeping him on the line. It's about how many times you can cross the line. Like, if you cross it and you just, your kid goes this way and then you bump them back and they go this way, and you're like, however many times you can cross the line, you scored, right? More. Because you was on the line the most. So the farm's the same way, I feel like. As many times as we can cross that line, we was crossing that line with further radiuses.
So
and I
what
know
you're
that's
saying
way out
is
there.
You and I, instead of us trying to keep them on the line, and we're keeping like this. You and me, we've been way crossing the line and way crossing.
I'm just saying
And
that
you're right about it.
all I'm saying is that I think we are doing a better job because we're 10 years older. We're more mature. Yep. We're letting the stuff roll off. The stuff that was really, really important then ain't as important as it used to be, because it always gets done.
Well, it goes to the point where you're saying that,
and it's a time we want it done right then, right out this way.
What did Dad tell me that one time? We ain't never not got done one time. I know that that's not proper English, and it's hard to understand him, but he's like, I don't know why you're so worried. We have never not got done one time.
Never not got done.
Yeah.
they could have said, we always get the crops in. But anyway.
That's not the way he says it.
This is the most
and
quiet.
he didn't have near as much.
This is the most quiet you've been in any conversation I've had with you. Is this just too contemplative, or are you afraid that it gets too emotional because you're farming with your son, but your farming with your father got cut short?
Yeah, it's kind of both. I mean, honestly, it's a tough subject. You know, my dad up until I was 12 made bad decisions.
Yeah.
From when I was 12 on, he was my hero. So I can't say that I would change a lot from what he done. My problem was when I was 30, it was over. So I didn't get to see my dad get older and quit and things roll off his shoulders. He still had that drive, when he passed away. So I didn't get to see the older man that y'all see today. I tell both of them this all the time. If you get mad at your dad, go hug him because he might not be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get pissed off.
Yeah.
Because I'd like for him to be able to see.
Yeah.
So when he changed his life when I was 12 and he was climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, I just kind of took the sword and kept climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And I hope that a lot of people say they looking down on us or whatever.
You realize he's still shaping you today?
Yeah.
Because you realize what we just talked about with Lane and our kids being they're worried about us being disappointed. You realize that you're still doing that today? Because you're worried about disappointing your father that's not here. You're still trying to prove a point.
That's
every
exactly
day.
right.
All right. You said communication is the thing that you are not as good at. And I didn't bring it up. You basically said that. But then you also said, my dad's more patient. Well, when you're 85, of course, you're going to baby the grandkids. It's a different time in life, et cetera, et cetera. What thing do you need to be better at with your relationship with Lane? Communication. I've been down to your farm a number of times. You seem to communicate pretty damn well.
Well, I've had to overcompensate and try to make sure I do everything correct because I didn't get that learning as I got older.
Yeah, right.
So I've had to overcompensate and try to almost sometimes walk on pins and needles to make sure that relationship was where it needs to be. And what worries me as much as anything, I know he's about the age when my dad passed away. Mm. He is the age when my dad passed away. Mm. There's so many things that I didn't learn because I was off jacking around, thinking about other things that I've tried to make Lane pay more attention at 25. Of course, with the death of Billy, Lane had to completely change from the lane. We're talking about lanes earlier. He was in the fertilizer lane, spreader truck. That was his job. Yeah. And then when Billy passed away, he had to completely change, for 3 months because I wasn't in the position to be able to make decisions. So there's been a lot of weird stuff happen there in my relationship. But it's still been, and we are absolutely best friends. And we do not go to bed at night mad at each other. That's one thing that we make sure
you
we
ain't
don't
slept
do.
before, but you ain't been.
That's right.
What do farm dads get wrong? What if everything dads get wrong?
Same as other dads.
Same as people. I mean, laundry cleaning business or owning McDonald's franchise.
The only thing that we're in the same boat in any generational business, whether it's cleaning business or supermarkets
restaurants or whatever.
The only way you get out of that is if you're at a factory or an executive job and your son goes and does an executive job or something somewhere.
Or daughter, yes.
Yeah, or daughter or whatever. I'm using son because I'm referencing Lane, but every dad makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And we may make them in the plow and the dirt, and they may make them in something else.
The mistake that we do make, Matt, is we tend to forget how much stress that our kids are under when we're trying to hand the baton off or hand the torch off, whatever you want to call it, because if they make a mistake, they know that it costs the family farm. Mm-hmm. If you're in a different situation where, and that's any business that you're in, that's a family business, but we tend to forget how much pressure they're under, and they feel that pressure every day. And that's the cross that they got to bear. I mean, it's tough on them, and we're hard on them all the time. I mean, I'm telling you, when I say I'm hard on my kids, I mean, I'm hard on them.
When I probably don't see that as much because my baton got dropped.
That's what
before it can be handed off. So I didn't have, it was like one day I had someone making decisions for me, and the next day I had to make my own decision.
The difference is you built your family farm. You built your own legacy. And you really did. Touche. I don't know how you did it. The rest of us, we're farming a generational farm, and we tried not to lose it. Now we're putting the pressure on our kids, and we're forgetting what we went through.
And we're trying to not lose it.
You better, like we talked before, we could make mistakes back in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, and we could recover from some of that. Well, nowadays, man, we make one bad mistake. You realize some of the pressure we put on these kids. They do realize that we can lose it all if they make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You talked about your dad, Mike, being a patient, very patient, more so than you. I don't think even in 20 years ago, he ran at your speed. You are, different from your father in your pace. The pace you talk, the pace you walk, the pace you work, the pace you run. Is that an accurate statement, or did he just slow down when he got old?
No, yeah, I mean, no, I don't. I mean, I try to think about that as well. You know, when we come into the farm, and again, I say it's like me and Stuart. Okay. So, cause, you know, because we work a little over 7,000 acres now. Right. Well, when we come out of school, you know, and Stuart chose to go get a degree, which I'm glad he did, because, you know, it's helped us in the things he does on the farm. Well, we come to work, and we work 1,700 acres, 2,000 acres, you know, and so it was a different caliber then, you know, to what it is now. Now, did we work harder then? I think we worked harder then than we do now. I really do, but I think now is way more stressful, you know, because it's the cost. It's just
not even
higher,
the thing.
It's higher stakes gambling.
Well,
Ain't it? I mean, it's just, you know, where we was playing, you know, me and you was talking about that 48-40 on the way up here. You go buy a brand new one for what? 28?
Yeah.
30? 32? I don't remember. I don't know.
Might make 40 back in the day.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dad I can remember Dad buying a brand new 45, 55, and I think it was 49 to 52.
yeah.
$1,000. So
Yeah, you know, so, I mean.
the difference between you and your father is you're playing at a different table in the casino with $1,000 in front of you, and he might have been playing at the $5 table.
And that's why, you know,
It's not insulting. It's just the
it's just
the $5 table. Them, I mean, 1,700 acres at that point in time was pretty big.
well,
But in today's world, this is all.
and then,
insane.
you know, we just done that episode, you know, and we talked about the interest rates then. I mean, play that game, go buy it, and then let's go the interest rate deal, you know? So
Yeah, but they played 18% interest at one point too.
I know.
Yeah,
That was rough.
So I mean,
think today's economy is worse than the 80s because of the cost of the goods.
well, I'll tell you
The
what's the
numbers
telltale
are
on it.
so
Look at the numbers of suicide rates among farmers.
Yeah.
True.
That tells the tale.
The mental thing is a real deal.
We're going to, spoiler alert, we're going to cover the mental health issue in another recording, and that's not something that shouldn't be talked about in every recording, because farmer mental health is a very big concern. So I want to get that, but we're going to do that. That deserves its own topic.
Yeah.
About the thing with your parents, you know, to say that the numbers are bigger now, yes, the acreage is bigger than your father ever had. There's no question. But to Temple's point, the 80s, we're in our first year of a downturn, Matt. They made it through more than a decade. You know, you're talking from 81 till sometime in the mid 90s before there was even a light at the end of the tunnel, before you can come up for air. They must have had some fortitude.
I farmed a little bit of that myself.
You got to remember back in that, there was a lot of people that went out, and the people that went out, they're gone, and only the strong survived. So you have that. That's what you're seeing here. The strong ones that have survived, and that's trying to pay us on to another generation. You know what I mean? That's 2 generations ago.
Don't think for a minute that you won't hear about that too. Don't think for a minute that, you know, I didn't go through that. You know, I started farming in 92 was my first crop. But don't think for a minute that, you know, all the details that I told you during that thing, it wasn't stuff that I went through. But you remember that they would make sure they put that in you like we're putting it.
Told me that the other day. I kind of got, this is right before harvest started this year for us, and I was pretty in the dumps. I'm like, man, we got bad crops, we got bad money, we got, talking about interest rates, and I'm like, it's, we don't have a good market. Like, I'm really worried. He said, you ain't seen tough. That's what he told me. And he had some other choice words he called me, but in the end, they're right. We haven't seen tough. You went through part of it. That was at the start of where I was. I was back in 1985 is when I kind of started. Dad handed over the first farm, and I kind of saw
I was
that.
89, so you were before me.
So I know that the way your dad talked to me over me cutting my finger over a crab, I'm pretty sure that he would tell me and you that we ain't men enough.
You know the
we
word.
ain't men enough to farm then.
You know the word he used.
I do remember the
Chad
word
gets
he used.
one little prick in his hand from.
It was more than a prick.
It was
I mean, I think I needed 3 stitches.
Went and got him a Band-Aid and said, "Here, you," and then left it at that. I was like, "Who?"
I wouldn't even put it on. Like I was like, no, it ain't hurt.
At his field day, you went over and you got wrenches out so he could actually beat the crabs. And the thing is,
No, he went and got brand new bolts out of the bolt bin, and they were 3/4 bolts, 8 inches long, and was handing them out.
I was there.
No, I mean, the worst thing about mine is they took it at TSA. Like I don't even know how I think. Like I took it at TSA. Like,
All right, when you think about how you were different from the dads than we grew up with, we can talk about they went through a different time. Of course, everybody's got that whole thing. What about them? The idea that these kids are looking at you, and what's the thing you're saying? You know what? I'm really glad about my dad. I'm really glad that fill in the blank. What's Lane say? I'm really glad that. My dad gave me this opportunity. My dad is really introspective. My dad
Are you going to answer all the questions?
I'm throwing it out there. I don't know.
Well, I think that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most contemplative I've ever seen Mr. Matt Miles.
Well,
I mean,
I think Lane would be like, he would be appreciative, but now I didn't hand anything over to him. I mean, he's paying me interest on anything that I'm involved with him now because I wanted him to pay his way and learn that's the way it is. But I think I think there's respect. Yeah. I think he's got respect for,
well, I'd say absolutely has respect.
they definitely did.
and then the closeness friendship, that we have. I mean, he said it on video several times. He said, "Dad's my best friend."
Well, the one thing that I'll tell you about Lane is, when he called me back, I said, "How'd you make out?" He said, there was 2 things that was going to happen. Is either he was going to get really mad or I didn't know how to handle that problem. And he said, I didn't get my business partner who I thought I was going to get. I got my dad. And he said, and that meant a lot to me. And it did.
That's a very interesting thing. Sometimes you're a business partner with your kid that's in the business with you, and sometimes you're the parent.
You have to be both.
That's it.
And you have to separate them at times.
Yeah. That's a really valid point right there. All right. We asked the question, how are you different than your dad, and how are you going to have with the operation? Because most farms in this country are still family farming operations, whether they're incorporated or not. We talk about these kind of topics right here at the Granary, and we always ask you to pull up a chair, pour yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack, make yourself at home, because you know what? You're part of the group. We're very happy you joined us. This episode of the Granary is brought to you by our friends at Nachurs. Nachurs fertility products are fortified with BioK. That's their technology. And actually, here at XtremeAg, we have a partnership with BioK. Go to Nachurs.com and check it out to learn more about it. These guys all use their products to great success. Also, share this episode with somebody that can learn from it and enjoy it. You know what? It's just real farmers sitting here having real conversations about real things that you think about. And this time we talked about the different situations from your dad to you to the people that you're going to pass your farm on to for the next generation. Till next time, thanks for being here. Cheers from the Granary.